Today we live in a world of dizzying speed, exponential complexity, and ruthless competition. So how do we rise above that? And I've had a front row seat to see exactly what happens when people embrace innovation, and frankly, what happens when they don't. We think of innovation as giant product breakthroughs or serious transformations. You might say, how does that apply to me on a daily basis? It's not only for a CEO, it's not only for somebody wearing a lab coat. Innovation applies to us all. We are hardwired for creativity. Today, more than ever, we win or lose in tiebreaker situations. And that little layer of creativity, that becomes the difference maker. That's the one thing that can't be outsourced or automated. More innovation, more ideas, more imagination. We tend to overestimate the risk of trying something new, but we underestimate the risk of standing still. Change the rules to get the jewels. Changing your approach, changing your methodologies, even changing the constraints of your business. An example, the billboard wars of LA. Your move, BMW. Within 1 week, BMW fired back. There are times that we owe it to ourselves to take some responsible risks. Here's my suggestion. Pause and ask the question, instead of A, B, or C, is there a D? Is there an E? Or is there an option X? Now is the time to prioritize this gift of human creativity. Let's make today our jumping off point. Ideas are contagious. One idea becomes 6 ideas, becomes 11 ideas. You create momentum, and that momentum becomes unstoppable. The first core mindset of innovators is an inherent belief that every barrier can be penetrated. In other words, no matter how difficult an obstacle may feel, the Elon Musks of the world, the Thomas Edisons of the world, it's not that they're smarter than any of us, but they just keep going forward. They believe there's got to be a creative workaround. There's got to be some way to scale the mountain. And if they throw enough imagination at a problem, eventually it will melt away. Now, the good news is we need not be starting our own company to think like this. We can apply this in just about any situation. Fun example from a little north of here up in Canada. So a couple months back, an Air Canada flight got stuck out on the runway at the Toronto airport for 7 hours due to weather. Those poor passengers. Well, once they gobbled up all the peanuts and they drank all the booze, they were getting pretty frustrated. They're texting their loved ones, they're tweeting, they're complaining, they're begging the flight attendants. They're saying, look, you at least have to give us some food. Well, an Air Canada flight attendant gets on the horn and says, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry, just nothing that can be done. Nothing that can be done. Well, a nearby WestJet pilot had a different idea. You see, he believed that every barrier can be penetrated. He realized that, yes, his job description was pilot, but his secondary description was disruptor, to serve customers, to grow their company. So about 45 minutes later, he wheels up one of those metal staircases to the plane, climbs up the stairs, bangs on the door, and when they open up the door, to their surprise, the guy's sitting there holding an armful of pizza. And it enabled amazing tweets like this one. Check it out. Awkward but funny moment. WestJet guy walks in and says, hey guys, I'm from WestJet, and we do things differently. Want some pizza? Think about the impact that was created in that moment, not just for the couple hundred people on the plane, but for the thousands that saw it as this went viral. This is what happens when we believe that every barrier can be penetrated. There's always a creative workaround. Which brings us to our third core mindset of innovators. I call this one, change the rules to get the jewels. One thing I've learned now in 28 years in business is that too often we tend to overestimate the risk of trying something new, but we underestimate the risk of standing still. Here I'm suggesting we change it up, changing around the rules of engagement, changing around our perspective, even changing around the resources that we use to get the job done in order to find new, fresh possibilities. The game of Monopoly started in 1903, actually, and of course, it's a classic, and it's been around, it's weathered the storms of digital and technology and augmented reality and all this. But here's something that happened pretty recently. They were trying to get closer to their customers, as we all do, as we all should. And they heard something that was pretty disturbing. Turns out that 50% of Monopoly players cheat. Oh yeah, I know you do it, come on. You move an extra space, grab an extra couple bucks from the bank. But anyway, instead of them finding this behavior abhorrent, they said, maybe there's an opportunity here. Maybe there's a change the rules to get the jewels opportunity. They spent the next 2 years underground studying how Monopoly players cheat. And then just this summer, they launched something brand new, the Monopoly Cheaters Edition. So they've elevated the level of play. Not only is it the normal game, but now you get to embrace other cheats of other players, and they injected some of their own. There's squatters' rights, there's cyber threats, all kinds of cool stuff. And you're trying to outsmart others who could catch you and send you to jail. In this example, it was the single biggest launch of this game's history since their original launch in 1903. So even those that have been in a mature industry for quite some years still can change the rules to get the jewels. A couple other fun examples for you. A video killed the radio star thinking in action. St. Regis Hotel, Washington, D.C. Like many of us, they were looking around their business, trying to reimagine, trying to reinvent. And they started staring at that empty closet. The closet that's in every one of your hotel rooms if you're not from the local Boston area. Now, just like everyone else, they stared at the closet. Now, most people look right past it, but they said, maybe there's an opportunity. Maybe there's a video killed the radio star right here. Here's what they did. They partnered up with luxury retailer Neiman Marcus. And now, when you go to check in, before you arrive, you're sent an email survey asking about your size and your fashion preference. When you walk into your room and open up the closet doors, it's no longer empty, it's stocked with hand-selected goods just for you. Try them on in the privacy of your room. If you like it, keep it. Walk off with it, auto-charged your hotel invoice. If not, just leave it in the room. So because they had the courage to look at something that everybody else looks at in a new way, they were able to create a brand new revenue stream, activate a dead space, did it with no capital since they partnered with Neiman Marcus, and created competitive differentiation. Video killed the radio star in action. Now, this can be applied to nearly any industry. Imagine, for the sake of argument, that you ran a tour bus company. Your tour bus would look like this, because that's the way they all look. The problem is there's a design flaw. That center aisle. At any point, half of your customers have an obstructed view. Now, you probably say, well, what can I do? That's just the way tour buses are. And you may be saying that same phrase in your own industry. Interestingly, a New York operator had a different idea. He said, maybe there's a video killed the radio star approach. Check out his tour bus. So here they installed stadium seating, a big wall of glass so everybody has a gorgeous view instead of a blocked one. And it allows them to coordinate fun things, like street performers at various stops along the route. In the highly commoditized, highly competitive tour bus scene in New York, I bet you're not surprised to know who's now the #1 operator in that city. Video killed the radio star. All right, let's move on and take a look at our second core mindset of innovators. This one I like to call video killed the radio star. Many of us remember the song, 1979 actually, first song ever played on MTV, appropriately so. Here's what it means for us. It's about letting go of the past in order to seize the possible. It's a willingness to defy traditions, challenge underlying assumptions, and lean into new possibilities. As I was building my own company, I had a saying. I would repeat it again and again and again, that someday a company will come along and put us out of business. Might as well be us. Video killed the radio star. One of the most innovative ice cream companies, of course, is Ben & Jerry's. Kind of wonder, how do they stay so innovative? Well, one of the things that they do is that they're willing to let go of what was to make room for new, fresh ideas. So when a flavor is no longer successful, they bury it. No, I mean literally, they bury it. They host a business funeral. They celebrate the flavor and all the good it's done in the past, but they clear the way for new ideas. In fact, on their website, welcome to check it out, they have a graveyard for the dead and buried. And it's very clever. This is Wavy Gravy, for example. 93 to 01, it was terrific. but now they let it go. Think about the message that this allows for this incredible company to continue to push the creative boundaries. This morning, I'm going to share a couple very simple techniques, little takeaways that you can take back into your work and put them into action. And the first one, borrowed from our friends at Ben & Jerry's, is simply the business funeral. In other words, is there a system or an approach or a process that you're using maybe for months or years or even decades, that it's time to celebrate it? Not a criticism of the past, but let's give it its due in the sun, let it move on to finer pastures, and now we can make room for a better, more relevant, more competitive approach, the business funeral. Which brings us to our next technique. When you make a decision, big or small, even how to behave on a telephone call, the way the mind works is we limit the choices. We make it a multiple choice. We say, okay, I could either do A, B, or C. And A, B, and C, those are the obvious, easy answers, the things you've always done before. But here's my suggestion. Instead of automatically choosing A, B, or C, ask yourself, wait a minute, is there a D? Is there an E? Or I like to say, is there an option X? Option X is that bold, unorthodox, unexpected idea, the one that makes all the difference. If you were to get on an airplane with your biggest prospect sitting next to you, option A, sit down, sell, sell, sell. Option X, give the seat to his wife. Little option X in action for you. This bike is called a Van Moof, hybrid electric bike used for city commuting, and they're sold direct to customers. The leaders of the company were facing a problem. The bikes were getting damaged at a very high rate during shipping. They were sent in big cardboard boxes. FedEx, UPS, getting all messed up. Well, the leaders all get together and they say, look, we have to solve this problem. What should we do? They started brainstorming, and first the obvious and easy answers came forward. Someone says, well, let's just use thicker packaging material. Yeah, but that costs money. Someone else says, oh, what about one of those fancy white glove delivery services? Costs even more money. That's where most of us stop, the A, B, or C. But they kept going. They wanted to find that more elegant solution. One of the leaders says, time out. Think about a flat screen TV for a moment. Flat screen TV is about the same weight, about the same size box. How can people ship flat screens every day with no damage, and our bikes are getting all messed up? Well, this led to a pretty cool option X idea. They didn't change the packaging material. They didn't change the delivery service. They didn't change a single thing, except they printed a flat screen on the box. That's it, little extra ink. And the results? Damage rates were reduced by 70%. It's amazing what happens when we apply this option X, seeking the unexpected thinking, even to the most mundane business challenges. Which brings us to our next core mindset of innovators. This one is around seeking the unexpected. Instead of doing things the way that we're expected to do them and look and behave and act, maybe it's time to seek the unexpected, because those that make history never follow the previous path. An example, Los Angeles, California, a billboard goes up. Your move, BMW, the entirely new Audi A4. I think this was a rhetorical question. I mean, the whole point is, there's no way BMW could respond to such a cool new car. Except BMW is an innovative company. They know how to seek the unexpected. Within 1 week, in the identical sight line to this billboard, BMW fired back. And they did it with this. I don't think that's what Audi was hoping for, really. So now it's Audi's turn. The expected thing, call up the lawyers. The unexpected thing, 2 days later, very next billboard, Audi responds, your pawn is no match for our king. So this launched the billboard wars of LA. Both companies kept volleying back and forth, trying to outdo one another. And frankly, both companies won because they both knew how to seek the unexpected. It did get a little weird after a while. But check it out. At the end of the day, Audi wins. And here's why. They continued to seek the unexpected. Instead of continuing to design more and more billboards from their ad agency, they opened it up to their customers, inviting them to contribute ideas. Thousands came in, many of which turned into live billboards. So think about that. They engaged their customers so much, they got them writing ads. But that wasn't their intent originally at all. They had a whole different idea in mind, totally backfired. But because they continued to seek the unexpected, they were able to flip a tragedy into a triumph. I'd like to, if I may, bring it all home for you with one final story. This is a man named Kos Marte. Kos grew up on the Lower East Side of Manhattan in New York City in terrible conditions. He was raised below the poverty line. He was in a failing school system, awful peer influences, ended up getting into some trouble. He tried drugs for the first time at age 11. By age 13, he was selling them. Now, Kos was a pretty enterprising young man. By age 19, he had a $2 million a year business. But then he ran into a regulatory burden. The New York police came on in, shut down Kos's drug business, sent him to prison for 7 years. Now, at the time, Kos was overweight. He was in failing health, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. They ends up getting into a fight with a prison guard and get sent to solitary confinement for 3 weeks. Now here he is in a concrete cage in the worst environment that we can imagine as human beings. He was feeling hopeless and cold and terrified. Just to pass the time, he didn't know what else to do. He started exercising, using his own body weight. It made him feel a little better, helped him get through those 3 weeks of hell. Eventually, he gets out into the regular prison population. He keeps at it. He keeps exercising, went to the prison library and learned all about fitness and nutrition, ended up over the next 6 months losing 70 pounds. When the other inmates saw the transformation, they asked for his help. So Kos actually spent the rest of his time in prison helping other inmates take care of themselves, get in physical condition, build self-control. Well, he finally gets out, but now he's facing another problem. He paid his debt to society, he wants to do the right thing, but try getting a job as a convicted felon. He applied to all the places he knew, but no one would even give him a call back. At this point, he was running out of options and running out of time, but not running out of creativity. He turns to the 5 mindsets of innovators. You see, these don't only apply to tech nerds from Detroit. They apply to all of us, personally and professionally. And here's what Kos did. First, he believed that every barrier can be penetrated. He didn't waste time saying it can't be done. He kept going forward and doing it. Video killed the radio star. He knew a traditional approach wasn't going to cut it, so he had to come up with something new. He had to give it a judo flip. He had to change the rules to get the jewels. When you leave prison, you're told there's only so many things that you can do. Kos disregarded that advice. He had to seek the unexpected. He had to push the creative boundaries, doing the bold and creative Option X type ideas. And he kept falling down, but he kept getting back up. So Kos was thinking one day, he says, you know, when I was in prison, helping people get in shape, I felt like I mattered. Maybe I could start my own gym. Sounds good, but what landlord is going to give this guy the key to a building? Again, turns to the core mindsets. He begged landlords all up and down the city. Everyone said no, but he kept at it. Fall 7, stand 8, until one said yes. Ironically, at the same corner in Lower Manhattan where he used to deal drugs. Now he's got his space, but he says, how do I compete? How do I compete with the giant gyms? Turns to the mindsets. I'm going to seek the unexpected, he says. So instead of opening up like the 700th lookalike gym, Kos opened up the very first gym of its kind, the world's first prison-themed gym. Welcome to Con Body. Do the time. So here's what happens. You can see the prison block. You go through the gate, and now you're training in the yard. There's no fancy equipment. Same body weight exercises that Kos developed while in prison. And the folks here not only get a great workout, they have some fun with it. In fact, the members of the gym aren't called members at all. They're called inmates. And the inmates not only have some great exercise, they even get to take pictures like this and post them online. Every aspect of the gym is creative and non-traditional, even his workforce. Instead of hiring people from the industry of fitness and nutrition, every employee at Conbody was previously incarcerated, from the front desk greeter to the personal trainers. Because this gym was authentic and bold and creative, it takes off. I spoke to Cost about a month ago, and he told me that he's now up to 10,000 paying customers in New York City. When people around the world heard about it, they said, we want in on the fun too. And now he streams his courses online for a fee and has paying customers in 22 countries. When he opened up the second location of Conbody, instead of opening up in some dingy old building, he actually opened up inside Saks Fifth Avenue, a luxury retailer in New York. Think about this. Cost went from the lowest place on earth to unimaginable levels of success by embracing these core mindsets. This is what Cost did in his darkest hour. Think what we can do in our finest. So how do you bring it back and how do you put it into action? Here's my challenge. In the next 7 days, while these ideas are still fresh in your mind, see if you can uncover just one. Just one new idea for creative disruption. You don't have to execute it next week. You don't have to fund it or get approval. In fact, it doesn't have to be a big thing. It can be a little teeny thing, the way you prospect for a new client or the way you send a proposal. If you give yourself permission to just bring one idea to the surface, I know all of us have at least one, you create momentum, and that momentum becomes unstoppable. Ideas are contagious. One idea becomes 6 ideas, become 11 ideas. And before long, we fully embrace this creative vibe, and we'll continue on to win in the market. You know, the world, our industry, is very different than it was when my dad was at his prime back in the 80s. Today, the stakes have never been higher. The threats have never been bigger. The competition has never been more rough. But I truly believe the opportunity has never been more profound. Let's seize it. Let's make today our jumping off point. Now is our time. Now is our time to push the creative boundaries. Now is the time to prioritize this gift that we all have of human creativity and imagination. Now is the time to change the rules and get the jewels and seek the unexpected. And if we fall down 7 times, let's get back up 8. And if we can do that, truly our best days will be yet to come. Thank you.